It was certainly an odd time being in Madras during the course of the Indian Uprising. Seemingly emboldened by the eviction of their former company overlords, numerous Tamil aristocrats pooled together their collective resources of wealth and personal retinues in an attempt to reclaim the continent of India from the oppressors of both the East India Company and that of Punjab. Or so the rhetoric went. The reality on the ground was starkly different to that the nobles proclaimed. The local lords were, shockingly enough, content to remain local lords. For all their talk of pan-Indian unification, they seemingly had no plan or even the means to push on to unify all of India. And for all their talk of liberation, the power structure that they sought to impose was archaic and old-fashioned at best. An absolute monarchy seeking to proclaim one sole emperor of all the subcontinent? For an attempt of casting off the yoke of oppression, they sure did lean heavily on the ideas of those who had once oppressed them. Not to mention that they had courted those very same powers in an attempt to throw them at Punjab and its children, so that the local lords could profit on the death of their own people as well as foreigners. The whole thing had rather disgusted me at the time, having been living in Madurai for a few years at that point. I'd come to care for the people quite immensely, whose earnest nature and work ethic had been exploited by European powers such as the company for far, far too long. When Punjabi forces finally came, they bore with them the banner of progress. Just having come off the heels of officially banning discrimination based on race and culture, the Maharaja had pushed for and succeeded in separating the Sikh priesthood from official government processes entirely. And, from what I'd heard about Bengal and Mysore, I knew that the power of industry would soon sweep through these lands and deliver these people their just dues. Damnable aristocrats. So many good Tamil men had to die for the war to end, and for what? So they could pretend that they were the true inheritors of India? That they had somehow, through blood right, deserved to inherit the wealth of all the lands and its people? That the idea of a single Indian state bearing the name India would be the property of but one man? No, I say. The flag they flew and any good intentions that it may have brought died when they chose to line their own pockets and send their fathers, husbands, and sons to die for nothing. And then I look to the flag of Punjab, its khanda upon a canvas of orange. I look to this flag and I see what cause it has been fighting for all along. Not just some pitiful claim to an entire continent based upon geographical boundaries or by choosing one people or faith over another. The Punjabi could have subjugated all of India, establishing their superiority, enforcing their faith to all peoples. And yet they chose not to. They have chosen to uplift all people up with them, as equals, as brothers and neighbors and comrades, as one unified force, rejecting the notion that only a destined people or creed are just and right. Wherever their flag goes, the very spirit of liberty marches with them. Wherever their flag rises, peace reigns. Wherever their flag waves, people can look to it and know that they are safe and free and home. When the Confederates rose up, they stole that liberty from us. My father, my grandfather, and the country they fought for died when the institution of slavery was made supreme over America. And with the French having brought the surviving American government to heel, I would have dared say that the American dream was dead. But when the Maharaja accepted a call of peace and granted mercy onto the Tamil, and accepted them into the fold with open arms once again, with no strings attached, I knew it to be true. Punjab has inherited our dream, and so long as she calls herself Punjab and that flag still flies, then it means that in this world, freedom has not yet perished, and I would gladly die 1,000 deaths to keep her safe. From the Journal of an American Punjabi Citizen that would eventually find itself printed en masse, 14th December 1875, penned under the pseudonym Pixel Cat. Hey everybody, it's PartyElite. Welcome back to our Sikh Empire run in Victoria 3. Things have been going rather swimmingly for the last couple of sessions, folks, and we are barreling towards the end game as within just a few years' time now, we'll be able to declare a fresh war on Great Britain and actually subjugate our would-be conquerors. Again, if we just take a look at our diplomacy screen, we'll see that our truce with Great Britain ends in about, 3 years' time, 1909, and after that we'll be able to kick off our diplomatic play to subjugate them, and that should take about, a year to actually escalate to war, give or take, a couple months. And finally, of course, the war itself will probably last 3 or 4 years, which will, end in the subjugation of Great Britain, and their puppets will become our puppets, and all that beautiful stuff that I simply cannot wait for. Now, on the path to doing that, or perhaps shortly after that, there is still some work to be done. Of course, that is our overall major objective, and that's what should hopefully unlock our achievement, unless the game, pulls a fast one on me and switching to Punjab as opposed to simply staying as the Sikh Empire hurts us, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But as I was saying, there are other things that we need to tackle as well, right? Awad still needs to be taken. Pondicherry, of course, still needs to be taken as well, and going to war with France is a scary prospect. I love just hovering over this tiny little province over here, highlights the entirety of France across the world, and you can just see exactly what we're going to be up against, and it's a terrifying prospect. So, it's not just about Great Britain. There is work to be done beyond that, and I hope to accomplish all that very, very soon. But that is talk of the future. Let's talk of the present. The Confederate States of America have decided to kick off this diplomatic play to try and cut us down to size, and I am looking very much forward to punishing them. As I said at the end of the previous session, folks, we're going to take from them what they hold most dear, and some of you rightfully predicted the moves I'm about to make. We are absolutely going to force them to ban slavery in the Confederate States of America, but that's not all, folks. We are also going to force them to liberate the country of New Africa. I absolutely love that these guys decided to make a move against us, because I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I've been in the back of my head, daring them, willing them to try and cut us down to size so we could get them to pay. And I don't just mean in cold, hard cash, right? I mean in terms of their lifestyle that they've grown so fond of and used to. Just like we banned slavery in the East India Company, we're now doing the same in the Confederate States of America, changing their way of life. And beyond that as well, it'll open us up, I think, from an ideological perspective. Speaking outside of game mechanics, obviously, it'll open us up from an ideological perspective to actually trade with them. And I bring that up because, of course, folks, over here in Pennsylvania, we'll see that these guys have oil rigs, and these oil rigs are producing so much oil that these guys are actually the #1 producer of oil worldwide by a significant margin. Now, there is oil to be got from elsewhere as well, and we're definitely going to be tapping into that where we can, but in order to make sure we're able to take advantage of the oil in the Confederate States of America's territories, I'm actually going to try and secure us a treaty port as well. If we go ahead and add the war goal to conquer state, you'll see that Pennsylvania is not actually an option, of course, because it's not actually reachable. So instead, we're going to simply go ahead and take a treaty port, and it'll be the treaty port of Delaware. This will cost us the tiniest bit of infamy. It will upset a few countries. I believe it'll upset France as well. Yes, so it's a little nerve-wracking to do this, and it will also escalate the war in a way that it might be harder for us to get everything we want. But I'm willing to forgo the war reparations, I suppose, if we can secure this treaty port, because that will prevent these guys from embargoing us, and that'll allow us to freely import their oil and use it at home. And the thing is, you might remember at the end of the last session, I made a bit of perhaps an error, one might say. Our food industries are really suffering because of the lack of oil. Again, we switched over to vacuum canning, and that requires oil, and we just don't have enough. We have an import route already out there, but I do think we might need to establish additional ones. I think Canada is at least willing to trade with us, and there are a few other producers that I think have us embargoed, right? Like the Austrian market, for example, has an embargo against us, and beyond that as well, I mean, we're already importing from the Qing market. It's funny, nobody here has actually tapped into their massive oil reserves that they have access to, so that's not an option. So yeah, it's going to have to be the Confederate States of America, who currently, yes, have an embargo on us. So we're hopefully going to see the success over here give success to all of our food industries. But in the meanwhile, because we're suffering from extremely expensive groceries as a result of this decision, I think I actually have to reverse it. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's very dangerous to go up the production methodologies options without considering what you actually have or don't have access to. Keeping our food industries using canning will keep the price of groceries down more than actually, using a method that would produce more of it, because we don't have what we need to produce more of it. So this will hopefully work out nicely. And folks, that is not the only major error I made last session. There is another one that many of you pointed out, and my apologies for this mistake. That's kind of what happens when in the middle of recording sometimes multiple episodes, it slips my mind at times what I did or didn't do the prior episode. And as a result of that and the haste at which I wanted to keep our new states in check, I completely forgot to actually incorporate
our new states here. And without incorporating them, we're actually not going to see the impacts of our institutes that we're actually upgrading, right? So despite our attempt at getting law enforcement and home affairs up to level 3, there are two things that are actually not ideal. I'm not going to say this was a bad decision because I actually like this decision still. There's more to it than just what I mentioned last session, and so I'll get into that for just a moment. So first of all, we're stuck here not actually enacting level 2 because our bureaucracy is just a little too low. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and build a couple of government admin buildings to get positive bureaucracy, so these guys will actually go through and we'll start making progress towards level 3. I do, yes, still want these guys. I am not going to cancel them because the impact on radicalization from standard of living decreases and the impact on revolution and secession progression speed and political movement radicalism, all that good stuff is still valuable even in our currently incorporated states, but also in the new state that I'm about to incorporate, which is Bombay. Again, very expensive. Yes, we're definitely going to build more government admin buildings, right, to counteract this. But the thing is that incorporating Bombay will take just 5 years and it'll reap the benefits of all those institutions, whereas incorporating anything up over here is actually going to take a significantly longer amount of time. I believe it'll be 20 years, yes, because again, they have nothing in common with Punjab as far as the cultural connections are concerned, and that 20 years is basically going to take us to, well, it'll take us to beyond our end game, right? So there's no real point in trying to incorporate these guys as cheap as the bureaucracy is. In fact, if we try to incorporate them, they'll start paying taxes. Again, as the incorporation progresses, they'll start paying more and more taxes, and that'll take money away from these guys, and that'll make them even more upset as their standard of living starts to suffer. So, yes, I made a bit of a mistake, one could say, in getting these institutions moving higher and higher, but at the same time, I do think it was the right call in general, because we do want, yes, some of this reduced radicalization across the board, because it is a serious issue, and it's causing us a lot of trouble with our interest groups as well, and this number is only going to keep climbing, because these political movements are huge movers as far as radicalization is concerned, and again, with home affairs, we reduce the rate at which that radicalization is sort of accumulated, I suppose. So this should hopefully work out for us, despite it not working out exactly as I'd pitched it at first. Still fine, but we do need to, yes, keep an eye on these guys' needs apart from that, because again, if we look at the culture screen, they're very close to seceding. It is very likely to trigger at any point in time, despite that 0.2% chance that the game claims there. I feel like almost there's a typo, because I've seen 0.2% chance secessions kick off more often than not. So we want to play it very safe. We want to make sure these guys are getting, their wages. We want to make sure these guys are happy. They've got all their needs fulfilled and everything. So hopefully some of the construction we're doing right now is going to take care of that, especially as far as clothes, and I believe we have some stuff going for their groceries and stuff as well. So hopefully that'll all work out. But beyond that as well, we do currently have poor laws about to be enacted, which will hurt our economy a lot, but it should also help uplift some of these people as we go through this session. Now, on the topic of our economy, just very quickly, I want to make an adjustment to our government wages. I think we've been overpaying these guys for long enough. I think it's time to bring down our wages to a medium government wage level and just bring some relief to our budget, because we are at about that halfway mark for our bankruptcy bar, let's call it, and that's where I start to get just a little nervous. And rather than increase the actual taxation and lose our reduced radicalization from standard of living decreases, I think it makes more sense to just reduce how much we're paying all these government employees. I think we've made enough of an impact as far as our interest groups are concerned that I feel comfortable enough making that change, and hopefully I don't end up regretting that decision. We'll see, I suppose, all in due time. Hopefully we won't have to suffer terrible consequences. With that said, over here in South Bengal, we are suffering from a significant reduction in tax collection. So why don't we go ahead and build up the government admin buildings over here. We'll go ahead and stack up 10, I suppose. That should hopefully be enough to cover our deficit. If not, we'll stack up a few more, and we are, yes, prioritizing them in 15 weeks time. They'll be done alongside the power plants, so that should be all well and good. And yeah, let's let time move forward finally and see exactly how this diplomatic play plays out, and let's see how long it takes for us to go into a positive bureaucracy situation. I mean, what I could do is I could cancel the incorporation of Bombay so that our institutions start making moves first. And sure, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's go ahead and cancel that. Let these upgrades guarantee our positive bureaucracy, then let's let the institutions start moving towards level 3, and then we'll go ahead and start incorporating Bombay. Incorporating, again, these guys just doesn't make sense. It'll take 20 years' time. It's not a logical move, because in 20 years' time we'll be done, right? Well, hopefully we'll be done before 20 years, so we'll have to look to appease these people in other ways, and I do think we've been improving their standard of living. I do think we've been doing a decent job of getting them happier and just taking care of their needs overall, but we'll keep an eye on the population. We'll keep an eye on what they're complaining about, who is actually feeling the squeeze. You know, for example, these English Protestants at the railway, 132k of them are still struggling. If we just keep an eye on some of these guys and just see what they're finding too expensive, we should be able to manage expectations and prevent secession. But that is all happening, of course, at the same time as something that I was very much not expecting, but I'm very excited to see. At the bottom right corner, I noticed that Awadh has begun mobilization and conscription, and they've sided with the Confederate States of America. I actually didn't notice this notification. I saw these two, and I knew exactly what happened. Folks, this is a golden opportunity. I'm a little nervous, of course, because it's going to increase our infamy, but with Awadh joining in, we are definitely going to go ahead and conquer the state of Awadh. It'll cost us 17.5 infamy. It'll further upset the French as well as Great Qing, but I'm not too concerned about them. So risky move, but hey, it's, you know, served to us on a golden platter. How am I going to say no? Awadh will be ours. That leaves just Pondicherry over here to take for our overall goals. Sikkim, I don't know if I'm, you know, chasing necessarily. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what the circumstances are after we're done dealing with Great Britain and perhaps France and Pondicherry. But this is very exciting. This is very, very exciting. Now, I do want to make sure that I don't conscript any of our conscripts. I want to make sure we don't mobilize any of our generals. We're just going to play the defensive game. And actually, apart from that, we're going to send Nihal Dillon over here to raid convoys just off the coast of the United States to hurt the Confederate States of America's supply networks. I'm not sure how much of a difference this will make to their overall radicalization and stuff, but it does look like it'll hurt their navy. Well, they're getting ironclads from us, so it's going to hurt their navy either way. As the war kicks off, we'll see an embargo and they'll hopefully struggle. But you know, luxury furniture is going to take a hit, silk is going to take a hit, so it might hurt some of the profitability of their buildings. It should make a decent enough difference if we get all of these convoys shut down, and I'm just curious if it's worth doing, if it's worth pursuing, if we can upset the Confederate States population by enough to get them to give up on the war without us actually having to go on the front foot, without us actually having to set foot on American soil. You know, if we take a look at their barracks, for example, in New York, we can see they've got trench infantry, they've got shrapnel artillery, they've even got machine gunners, so they're not an easy enemy to overthrow, and we just want to play it safe, right? Again, even if we don't get all of our war goals, if we get some of them, I'll be more than pleased, but I don't want to throw away lives and money in trying to accomplish what we're trying to get done over here. We'll keep an eye on their circumstances, we'll see if anything changes, and if there's an opportunity to get aggressive, we absolutely will, but for the time being, I'm not going to try and push against 115 defense, obviously. There are no colonies for us to strike at, there are no you know, overseas provinces for us to bait these guys into, so it is really a matter of time and patience and hopefully pulling off what we're trying to pull off over here. Meanwhile, back at home, we'll simply let our puppets do all of the work. I mean, it looks like they're already going to crush Awadh with, like, no issue whatsoever, and should the Confederate States of America try to land, of course, we have all of our garrisons, plus, as I said, our puppets and all of their military forces, of course. Well, this is nice. The price of groceries has actually dropped significantly, so that's very promising. Again, right, sometimes adjusting production methods to the newest isn't the right call, and in this case, it most certainly was not. Now, obviously, the demand for oil has dropped in our nation, which means those import routes that we set up are going to be a little less productive and a little less profitable, but unless they're actually marked as unproductive, I'm not going to go ahead and get rid of them. I think we're perfectly fine over here, and actually seeing this reminds me, our tools situation is obviously a bit of a problem as well, and I just wonder if we shouldn't pursue our tool manufacturing a bit more. I mean, these trade routes are going to level up. No, they're actually stuck at the levels they're currently at, and that's despite us saying we're going to protect domestic supply. So tariffs are as low as they can be for imports, and even then it's not enough. Can we establish additional import routes? Yes, we can. The Canadian market is willing to give quite a few. Sure, let's go ahead and tap into that, and let's tap into the Russian market as well. It doesn't cost us any convoys. And how about the Ottoman market too? We need tools, especially when we're building so much. That's when there is the extra need for tools. And I should also point out that the investment pool has a fair bit of money. So as soon as these government admin buildings are done, I'm going to actually pursue more paper mills, because of course goods for government buildings are some of our biggest expenses, and paper as a result is well, we need to cut that price right down. That is way too much we're spending on just paper. All right, here we go. War with the Confederate States of America has broken out. We will most certainly come out on top over here. So to arms, and let's just hope that this plays out as we need it to. As a bunch of our government admin buildings and our power plants have finished being built up, we're finally seeing our budget be in the positive, which is very promising. I was getting a little nervous at seeing a negative 300 markup over here, but this is a lot nicer to see. And at the same time, we do have, yes, a bunch of tooling workshops being built up, a lot of motor industries being built up as well. So this should all be good, as over here we can see success against Awad already. Our puppets are doing exactly what we need them to. They are pushing forth, they are advancing, and Awad doesn't even have any battalions to defend itself on this front, whereas on this front where they are able to defend themselves, I don't think they're able to do too much. Yes, I mean, I'm sure the East India Company over here is working in our service excellently as they just crush any resistance over here. Good stuff. So Awad will be secured. France is, of course, very upset at us, but we are working on improving our relations with them. We'll see exactly where that ends up. As up over here, we can see the war with the Confederate States of America at large seems to be going as we need it to. Their war support is dropping. They have 24.2% of their population as radicals. I just want to see what happens with our convoy raiding especially. Will it actually impact the radicalization? We can't really attribute all of the increase, of course, to our work, but I just want to see how this changes, as at present they are losing war support at negative 1.13 per week, whereas we are losing it at negative 0.54 per week. So that's looking excellent, and we'll just see, yes, how many of these how many of these war goals we can actually push. I'm just not sure, but we have a long way to go still, so let's not, again, get too ahead of ourselves, obviously. At the same time, we have managed to upgrade our law enforcement and home affairs institutions, so that's great to see. Again, it was just a matter of building up those government admin buildings, and we still don't have enough to stay at a surplus with our Bombay incorporation happening at the same time, right? So I just wonder if I should pull the trigger on that. We can check just how much tax waste it actually causes and what it does to our budget, because again, incorporation will generate tax over time, but in the short run at least, we're going to suffer from, oh, that's nothing. You know what, that's fine. I can deal with that. And eventually we'll maybe build up some more government admin buildings, and this shouldn't be a problem anymore. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if our new government admin buildings are still hiring people. And besides that, of course, again, if we get some paper mills done, this number will change significantly as well. And since the investment pool is still making money despite being fully engaged, why don't we go ahead and build up the paper mills in South Bengal? Let's get these guys up to level, I say, 10, and we'll see what that does for the cost of paper. We might need to go even beyond that, obviously, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear, and based on the progress that we make, of course. Meanwhile, just keeping an eye on some of these railway laborers over here, because again, we saw that, you know, quite a few of them were struggling, and so we can keep an eye on them as an indication of how wealth is maybe moving for some of these guys. Again, you can't isolate an individual pop type and solely focus on them, but I think it's a decent indication at least, because it's a large enough sample size, and it allows us to see a lot of these basic needs that many people have, and exactly how much is being spent on them, and how much they're actually being used as well, right? So it tells me very quickly what I should maybe consider adjusting the production of, and groceries actually seems to be quite a popularly consumed item that I should maybe consider, yes, making significantly cheaper, but we'll see when the opportunity presents itself. I am concerned about our paper situation first, obviously, so we'll let that happen, and we'll see what the investment pool looks like after some of this construction is done. That should help out future construction costs, and of course the productivity of some of our current active buildings as well. Meanwhile, it looks as though we are engaging in some naval battles from time to time at the Atlantic seaboard, and it seems as though we're doing very well over here. I guess it's just a numbers game, right? Even though our stats are worse, our flotilla count is just significantly higher than theirs, and so we're doing perfectly fine. Though I don't know if we've actually caused any damage to their shipping lanes over here. Oh, seems as though we have. All right, good stuff. Keep at it, and we'll see exactly what this does to their war support, and how likely we are to see success without, yes, stepping foot in American soil, right? Or on American soil, I should say, not in American soil. That sounds terrible. Meanwhile, on the flip side, it looks as though there's a naval invasion coming our way, and the East India Company is not going to be able to hold their ground against the Confederate States Navy. So they're going to try and land over here. What I should have done, actually, is I should have got Banda Nawa over here patrolling the coast of South India. South India tends to be what gets hit more often than not, and that'll at least give our technology and our admirals something to do in the region rather than simply sit still and look pretty. Nonetheless, I'm not too concerned, truth be told. Awad is fully occupied. These guys are going to come through and, like, what are they going to do? Make landfall and instantly get beaten back? I think so. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Again, trying to avoid any conscription and mobilization just to minimize costs to ourselves, and also to see exactly how the puppets fare against a foreign enemy that is, significantly powerful. They're not France, but they're not weak either. Now, Austria has ceased embargoing us, which is promising. I do wonder if that opens us up to getting enough oil now. So why don't we go ahead and experiment with the food industries here in Delhi, where, wow, sugar is too expensive, eh? All right, fair enough. If we go to vacuum canning, I just wonder if we can't see this import route grow. We're going to try it out. We'll see what happens, and we'll play it by ear, as I like to say. I don't think this will grow because of the revenue issue, and this isn't a very productive route either. But that's before we have the prices all set in place, right? Oil right now is considered to be an affordable good, which in just a short amount of time will most certainly change, right? So that'll hopefully make the trade routes a bit more profitable, and that'll hopefully influence more people to actually import oil. This sugar situation is a bit of a problem. Let's see if we can't import some from elsewhere. The Qing market is very forthcoming, so let's go ahead and grab some from there. The Burmese market as well, sure thing. The Russians are willing to trade as well, so let's go ahead and pick some up from Russia, and hopefully those will be relatively productive trade routes while also providing us with enough resources to bring the cost down. Because I noticed these food industries are actually losing money, which is obviously not ideal, and hopefully that change will be all we need over here, as it looks as though we've actually managed to import enough oil. Good stuff. So this should go away. Yeah, no more limited productivity. And hopefully we'll see the cash reserves start to grow as well as I take a look at the opportunity to import glass from shore. The Austrian market, that seems good to me. Very productive as well. And how about the North German market? Again, we forced them to open their doors to us, right? So let's go ahead and take advantage of that. And the Russians, well, we'll leave these guys be for the time being. They're not producing enough to make it worthwhile, I don't think. But that should hopefully bring the price of glass down as well and further make all of our food industries that much more profitable. So I think just the ones in Delhi will use vacuum canning because, as you can see, oil is tremendously expensive. So I don't think we'll be able to import too much more. It really is about the Confederate States of America and their oil rigs. If we can secure those, I'll feel a lot more comfortable about the overall cost of oil. We'll keep an eye on this, obviously, because those trade routes are growing, but I just don't want to get into the same pitfall as I did previously, where we jumped the gun and groceries became ridiculously expensive, and then we had to fight to bring the price down. So we'll see. Though we are now the #1 producer of groceries worldwide. Has that been the case for a while, or is that news? Nonetheless, it's nice to see. There we go. Capitulation of Awadh, which means we have actually managed to secure that little blemish in North India. That's nice to see. What's a little bit of a bother, though, is that I imagine Awadh did actually activate their conscription centers, and we're going to see their troops actually drain some money from us, I believe. Hopefully not too much. We're not going to change their conscription centers' production methods or anything like that for the time being, but it is taking some of our money, and we just have to be wary of that for this war and future wars that might be coming through as well. Meanwhile, it looks as though the investment pool is currently growing, which is nice, but it also means we're not staying on top of it, as over here we have activated poor laws. My goodness. The one law that I could have used some more time to prepare for, the one law that I wouldn't have minded maybe just having a bit more wiggle room, decides to trigger right away. I mean, look, this is a good thing. I'm actually glad that we're getting welfare payments through now. It will cost us a lot, as we're seeing. It is an instant increase to our costs. It's not showing up right now, so let's let time move forward ever so slightly. And unless I'm missing it, now there we go. There it is. Negative 30.7K in welfare payments alone. I knew it was coming, but I guess the number up top updates before the actual, listed breakdown updates. Nonetheless, negative 30.7K is no joke. That is a lot of money that we're paying in welfare. But yes, it should really help uplift some of the, most unfortunate members of our society, while also appeasing the industrialists and the trade unions. Don't forget about this aspect of it as well, right? But obviously we do have to counter some of the cost of poor laws, and in order to do that, we're going to immediately move towards a fresh law as far as taxation is concerned. We've talked about this a few times now, but folks, it is time for proportional taxation. This will, of course, upset the industrialists. They will become disloyal, so we're going to lose job creators, but I think overall, you can't win them all, right? You got to win some to lose some, but at least now we have both, something that appeases the industrialists and then proceeds to upset them, balancing kind of out against each other while also making us a pretty penny. That's plus 50.5k, and that's with very low taxes alone. So yes, let's go ahead and get proportional taxation going. 10% chance of success, which is not that great. So hopefully the trade unions will go stronger over time as we move to trigger this within about a year's time. Yeah, less than a year by a couple weeks. So fair enough. Let's see. Hopefully, if we're very lucky, then that'll kick off immediately, as we should at the same time consider doing some more construction. We're going to build up the railway in North Bengal because it is suffering from some infrastructure issues, and apart from doing that by, I would say, let's go with 10 steps, we're going to just very quickly take a look at the market screen here just to get an understanding of who else might be suffering from poor market access. It looks like South Bengal is a bit of an issue. No. We're close though. We're close though. So why don't we go ahead and continue building up some of the paper mills over here? We're going to level 10. Why don't we go ahead and try to hit level 15? Sure, because again, that'll reduce the cost to the government, and we could very much use a bit more wiggle room on that front. Whereas up over here, if we just take a look at our beloved laborers at the railway, we can actually see their standard of living has gone up from 6 to 7, still below their minimum expected, but it does mean we're making moves in the right direction. It looks as though their average costs have reduced, which is nice to see, but it does still look like groceries could be invested in a bit further. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Yes, I think it makes sense to invest here in Delhi. Let's go ahead and pump the numbers up to let's say 35 and hope that doesn't tip this too high. And again, we'll just kind of play it by ear, right? We'll have to be very careful about how this stuff plays out, as it seems as though the landowners have activated noble privileges. Fair enough. Not much we can do about that, as job creators as well has been, yes, deactivated. It's okay. Hopefully we'll see loyalists increase in number, and hopefully we'll see their approval go a little bit higher. Hopefully we'll see radicals drop in number as well, and we'll again hopefully see the landowners, for example, stop being so upset at us. It's all a matter of time, or so I say at least. Who knows? This could all go horribly wrong, and I might regret some of the decisions I just made, but hopefully we're going to see people be taken care of, and hopefully we'll also see the reduction in a desire for secession. We're down to 60% now. Hopefully we're going to cross the threshold into the 50s, and as long as we can get it below 50%, if we can get it down to 49%, will be safe from secession. So this is looking promising so far. And again, I just wish there was a chart so I could see the rate at which this change was actually happening, but of course, no such luck. Well, this is interesting. I was just checking in on the oil rigs that I would soon have access to the output of, and I noticed this little icon over here for the conscription centers. There is an input goods shortage situation, and if we just take a look in here, oh my goodness, are you for real? Oh, this is huge. Oh, this is huge. I don't know how much of our convoy raiding caused this and how much it was the result of them changing some of their technology. Oh, they've got motorized recon. They must have just acquired this and they switched over, and that's hurting their defense a lot. Oh, this might be our opportunity to take the fight to the Americas. Oh, okay. All right. We can't just ignore that opportunity, right? Let's go ahead and head on down to South India. Let's go ahead and mobilize these troops. I don't know if 23 battalions is going to be enough. Do we have the time to actually get all of these conscripts activated, though? I just don't know. Let's try it. And also, I just want to take a look and see our general over here, Dalip Singh. He has done a lot for us, but he doesn't really have huge advantages to his ability to attack. He's a great trench rat, which is good for defense, but not so helpful on the offensive side of things. And I've been wondering this for a while, just if there is an opportunity to recruit a different general who's actually a better attacker. Better offense in flat terrain is nice, but I don't know how much of that we're going to see in the Americas, especially on, this coast, right off the coast. Better defense here from tactfulness. Okay, fair enough. Pillager, I'm not a big fan of. Nah, neither of these guys are good for us, and the only one who I would even consider picking up is actually of the rural folk, and we don't want to empower them further, so we'll leave that be for the time being, and we'll just make do with Buddy down over here and just hope that he's got what it takes to win this one. But yes, let's keep raiding these convoys for the time being, and as soon as he is fully mobilized and he's got all of his conscripts with him, we'll go ahead and push in towards the CSA. Again, we are still raiding their convoys over here, so even if they try to import some of those goods that they're seeing a shortage of, we should be able to keep them in pain, right? And it's actually interesting to see they were importing opium, and we've actually managed to minimize their import of opium, and that might actually be affecting some of their conscription centers and barracks and stuff as well. This is huge. Their naval bases are also suffering from a shortage of ironclads, of course, because they were relying on us to provide them. So okay, this is very promising. Oh my goodness, this is so very promising. Oh, this is great. Again, as long as we can keep the shortage alive, we'll hold on to that advantage, because it's not a matter of the technological change, right? It's not like that negative 75% modifier, which I wish I'd noticed as soon as it happened, because we would have had a huge opportunity there. But it's okay. I'll take what we have on hand here, and hopefully it'll work out nicely for us. On the topic of things working out nicely, this is very nice to see. Our radical count is finally dropping, and I'm not sure what the precise source of that is. Oh, you know what it is? It's, first of all, some of the political movements are disbanding. We still have 3 of them active right now, but I think some of them did disband, which is nice. But also, look at the change in standard of living over here. Negative 4.19 million radicals from increases in standard of living. That is our poor laws kicking in, and people actually making money and accumulating that wealth and getting out of abject poverty. I mean, if we just take a look at our best friends over here in the railways of the home counties, our laborers, we should be able to see that these guys are at level 8 now. Again, they're not out of the hole yet. They're not even at their minimum expected yet, but they're making progress towards that, and that just makes me so happy to see. So we might actually have this situation covered now. They are at 59% cultural turmoil, so it's not over yet, right? There is still a chance of secession, but it's halved, technically. That sounds like a significant change, doesn't it? It's halved, which is nice, but I would just like to get that, further 10% reduction to get us down to 49% at the very least before we can celebrate or pop any champagne or anything like that, obviously. Now, while we're waiting for Dalip Singh here to fully mobilize alongside his conscripts, I'm going to go ahead and get Banda Nalwa over here, actually, helping with the convoy raiding up over here, because we're slowly going to have to swap them out, right? Nahal Dillon is going to have to come back to actually kick off the naval invasion, so let's make sure we have somebody here applying pressure, keeping all these as close to 0 as possible, and making sure that these guys are just suffering from their lack of resources. This is huge. We have to make sure we move in before they manage to secure, automobiles or whatever it might be. So let's not dally too much. Let's not waste too much time in preparation of this invasion. All right, with Banda Nalwa having arrived at the Atlantic seaboard, let's go ahead and plan our invasion with Dalip Singh and, of course, Nahal Dillon over here. Let's get him... Oh, he's engaged in a battle. I was concerned for a second there because I saw these all grayed out and I was like, what's going on? He's just engaged in a battle, which I'm sure he's going to win. It's not going to be an issue. And we also actually immediately see our new arrival over here engaged in a naval battle as well, but it looks like he's going to win this one too, so that's very promising as we have unlocked defense in depth. This is beautiful stuff, so this is going to help us defend ourselves. Like I mentioned last session, when war comes with Great Britain, we'll be able to hold the line, hopefully that much better because of that plus 30%. But after that, I'm actually going to change what we're pursuing. I know last session I'd suggested that maybe we chase after concrete fortifications for that additional army defense, or maybe we chase after military aviation for the aerial recon. That'll help our offense and defense, as well as how many provinces we capture at a time. But before we invest 5 years in one of these technologies, I think it'd be a good idea to invest in landing craft. This will take just 19 months to research, and it'll allow us to ignore the difficult landing penalty. If we aren't able to succeed with our landings right now that we're about to kick off in the Americas, then maybe once we have landing craft, we'll be able to kick them off, because there is a huge, negative 25% when you suffer a difficult landing penalty in battle. So having the landing craft should help us out tremendously there. And again, it's less than 2 years to research it. And if we just take a look at our literacy, I think we could probably make it take even less time, because yes, we are not at our innovation cap. So I think what I'll do is as soon as we finish building some of these paper mills and start seeing some of the savings from that for our government, I'm going to go ahead and build up some of our universities. But that'll happen in a short matter of time. For now, let's go ahead and keep our eyes on the situation, not here, but here, because as soon as this battle is won, of course, we want to change our orders, right? And I want to make sure I don't fall behind on that, because time is money, and we can't afford to lose much of either. The longer this war stretches on, the more money we're going to invest in our conscripts, and that is starting to hurt us now. We are doing pretty well as far as war support is concerned, obviously, and if we just take a look at the situation here, their radicalization is at 34.8%, with 35%. Now, I'm sure we're actually a big part of that if you consider the fact that we've shut down so many of their population's needs and wants. I mean, I'm sure the lack of opium is hurting a lot. I'm sure the hit to their wages is hurting a lot. So this is very promising, and hopefully it'll actually affect their war support a fair bit as well. I feel like if we can keep applying pressure, we'll see their peace acceptance stay in the positive even when we add, some of these war goals. I mean, they're willing to ban slavery. I don't think they're willing to do, multiple war goals for the time being, but they might never be willing to do that. We might need to, force them to negative 100 war support in order to actually get everything that we're asking for. Alternatively, of course, if we leave one of our war goals behind, we might still be able to convince them without that negative 100 war support being hit. But, we're going to shoot for the moon, and we'll see how it plays out, obviously. But it seems as though our naval battle being led by Nahal Dillon is over, so we'll get him coordinating a naval invasion. Yes, where do we hit? It looks as though we should be able to strike at some of these places without an interception. I think that's probably because they're currently engaged in battle. Why don't we chase after Delaware? Sure, let's do that and see how it goes for Dalip Singh over here. It'll, of course, take him a fair bit of time because he's still waiting for all the conscripts to join him. But I do think we've timed this nicely because over the next, month and a half, they'll probably all be mobilized and they'll be ready to go as soon as the Navy is ready to go. Maybe. Conscription does take some time, and just to double check, our budget is still okay. Military wages are right down the middle, so we're not suffering from reduced training rates or anything, so it's just a matter of the waiting game as always. Meanwhile, construction has been completed across the board, so let's not sit on our hands and do absolutely nothing. Let's build up the university in Mysore. Again, that is the government paying for this, obviously, so there's not much we can do about that as far as the hit to our budget is concerned, but the investment pool needs to be used up as well, so over to South Bengal we go to get these paper mills upgraded a bit further, just to, again, reduce some of the pressure on the government here, right? So hopefully that'll help as these guys are going to get larger and larger and employ more people and just, bring the price of paper just that much lower. I mean, we caused a bit of a dent here, but there's certainly more work that can be done, not just for the government, by the way, of course, but for the people as well. On which note, radicalization sees a steady decrease, which is very promising. And loyalists are seeing a steady-ish increase, a bit of wobbling up and down, but we'll see how these trends play out, feeling pretty good for the time being at least. Meanwhile, as Dalip Singh is about a month away from landing in the Americas, oil has been discovered in the Trucial coast. All right, very interesting, very, very interesting. I wonder if we can't make some moves of our own in the region. No. We will not subjugate anybody but Great Britain. Very tempted to, as the Boer people are migrating to Punjab. I'm quite pleased with the decision to have open borders. I know many of you raised some very good points about why we should have kept our borders closed, but I do think this will allow more people in, and it'll fill in some of those empty employment slots. Though, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I might live to regret the decision, but for the time being, I'm pleased with the decision by and large. We're a safe haven for people who are suffering under the tyranny of oppression and colonialism the world over. So let them come, let them find opportunities, let them live the Punjabi dream, as the case might be, as we're literally getting ready to strike at the Americas and their dream, right? We didn't time it perfectly. Still a bit of mobilization left. That's okay, that shouldn't take too long. It was near perfect, and as soon as that's done, we might not even have to deal with a naval battle. Yes, what do we have here? We're being defeated by 174 defense. Where is this coming from? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay, so despite the negative 25% from poor visibility, they are seeing huge buffs due to their general, and their army defense itself is at plus 151. What happened there? My goodness. Well, they are defaulting on loans, which is nice to see. This isn't where I expected to see it from. Whatever happened to the significantly lower numbers we were seeing over here? Why is that not applying? My goodness. I mean, sure, their barracks aren't suffering from shortages, but they have so few barracks. I am surprised to actually see these guys get involved more than the conscription centers that outnumber the barracks in, I'm pretty sure, every state that we look. That'll be the situation. So I'm a little thrown off by that. I wonder if we'd be wiser striking a different strategic region just so we're under a different general, right? Yeah, so we should be able to maybe focus on the New England region instead and maybe get some luck there, because all we have to do is make landfall, right? We don't necessarily have to take Delaware. So we'll see if their general there is a little bit on the weaker side, and we'll see that, you know, maybe because they have less territory up over here, they'll be able to put together fewer soldiers or something. This was maybe a mistake, chasing after Delaware directly, but hey, you live and you learn, right? We'll come back stronger, and hopefully we'll not need those landing craft, though if we do, we'll have them in just like a year and a half's time or so. This is very much a patient war. This is very much a matter of taking our time and getting us all the advantages that we can to come out on top. Now, we will see an interception here, but I think we'll be fine. We'll be just fine because our troops are superior and our numbers are superior too, as a Bedouin uprising is kicking off over here. Oh my goodness, this is tempting. This is very tempting. Great Britain is, of course, very cocky over here, but if we side with the Bedouin uprising, I wonder how the British will feel about that. Yes, it'll delay our war with them, but this is huge. This is a lot to deny Great Britain, right? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Do we get involved? Let's go ahead and say that we're leaning towards the Bedouin uprising. We'll see exactly how it plays out when it enters the next phase, and we'll see if we join with them. I just don't know if I want to see our own war get delayed by another 5 years, you know? We'll see what happens here, but it is awfully tempting just to hurt Great Britain a bit further. The truth be told, we don't really need to anymore. Their rank is minor power. Their current prestige is at 324. They have to get up to 403 to be considered a major power again. So I'm feeling pretty good about our current situation and their current situation as well. I don't think we have to get too aggressive in stopping all of their moves over here like we once did, you know? So I'll think about it. As over here, we have some cross-border investments. I don't think I've ever seen this event. Punjabi industrialists are interested in making investments in neighboring Persian industries. Well, this is interesting. This is actually a game mechanic I would like to see more developed. I would like to be able to invest in, say, you know, oil rigs in the Ottoman Empire so that we are, yes, spending money to improve the productivity of the Ottoman Empire, but the oil they produce will ultimately be used by us if we're able to import it. Right now, the Ottomans might, put us under embargo, and so all of our investment might be for naught. Like, there's ways to play with that and make it interesting, you know, risk and reward and all that good stuff. But yes, I would very much like to see foreign investments actually be implemented into the game. But what do we have over here? So he stood up, put on his hat, and headed towards the door. At first, it seemed he would leave without another word, but then he turned around and spoke with barely suppressed anger. Being accused of lacking patriotism for where I try to make money isn't just insult. It betrays a complete lack of understanding of how money is made. Do you think I made what I already have by thinking provincially? We could say it's an excellent investment. Our relations with Persia would improve, and they'd actually get extra tax income because of the foreign investment, whereas if we strong-arm them into investing domestically, we would get extra manufacturing tax income, but the industrialists would be just a little bit more upset at us. It would bring them down to below happy, so we wouldn't even have access to engines of progress. But am I willing to sacrifice that for the little bit of extra manufacturing tax income? I mean, that could make a very, very big difference, you know? As far as relations with Persia, I thought we maxed them out and we still weren't really able to do anything with these guys. If we take a look at our diplomacy, we're amicable, our relations are pretty solid, there's no value here. And why would I see that money go away? While, yes, I will hurt our rate of research, right, because of the reduced approval rating, I think it makes more sense to get that manufacturing tax income at home. So let's go ahead and pop that trigger after we take a look at our current national revenue at plus 764. Obviously, it's hard to track it precisely, but if we strong-arm them into investing domestically, we should hopefully see this number go a lot higher than just 5K. Please don't tell me I upset the industrialists for just 5K in increased money. That would not be great. Maybe it'll just take some time to kick in. We'll go ahead and let that be, as it looks as though maybe we did make a bit of a mistake with the decision we made there. Hey, you know, it is what it is. I'm not too bummed out about it. I did see this number drop significantly, but that might largely be because of completed construction, and now with more paper mills being completed as well, hopefully we're going to see, yes, the reduced cost of paper, and hopefully that'll make things a little bit cheaper. Meanwhile, over here, it looks as though Dalip Singh and his bearer, Nahal Dillon, is fighting off another Confederate navy. and I'm really hoping this attempt at taking some territory plays out nicely. We might, again, have to wait until landing craft become available. Yeah, their defense is just absolutely huge. Do they really have that many soldiers on hand? And we're not even killing them at a decent enough rate to make a difference here. Like, they're bringing in some of their conscripts, and these guys should be lowering the overall averages, but it's just a handful of regular troops that are getting involved and really shifting the numbers, eh? My goodness, that is wild. That is wild. And our offense is low as well. Difficult landing is hurting a lot, and insufficient naval invasion support. What happened there? I guess Dalip Singh lost a couple of ships. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But if we can get rid of that negative 25%, that'll be something, right? Still 79 versus their 130. I don't think we can counter that. Damn. I thought there was an opportunity there, but maybe there wasn't. We'll see. We'll see once the next technology gets unlocked. And of course, we are investing a little bit in the conscription centers. But as I highlight that, we see proportional taxation has kicked in, and that should hopefully make us a fair sight more money. The landowners are extremely upset. Industrialists are not fans of that, but the trade unions are happy, and I'm quite happy as well. I'm genuinely surprised that we managed to pass this, and that should take the weight off of some of our, again, most impoverished, and that should hopefully cause a huge change to our numbers up over here. And if we actually take a look at our taxation opportunities, we should be able to make a lot of money, just one more step up. Very tempting, and you know what? I say we go ahead and do it. At least it puts us in the positive, and now I can perhaps invest in some additional government admin buildings to further put us into the positive. Oh, there we go. There's the change finally kicking in for real. Beautiful stuff. My goodness. Yeah, let's absolutely invest in some government admin buildings. I suppose we could invest up over here in South Bengal. They've got infrastructure actually maxed out over here, so why don't we go ahead and build up some railways first, and then we'll go ahead and add to the government admin buildings up over here just ever so slightly to make sure we are making as much money as we can from taxes wherever possible, right? There's a huge population here that needs to be taxed properly, and yes, of course, it's costing us a lot of money to get this going, but you got to spend money to make money, and I think this is an opportunity to do exactly that, as our investment in the universities from earlier is paying dividends as well. Our innovation has maxed out once more, and we actually have some additional innovation that will, you know, take advantage of as literacy goes up for at least the next little while. Our literacy rate is actually number 75 worldwide, so we've come a very long way, and I'm very pleased with that as well. We'll see how far we can take this before the game is actually done, but hopefully that'll make a significant difference to our access to landing craft, right? 11 months away, so just about a year or so, and hopefully we'll get the advantage, though, again, even with landing craft, it might not be enough to overcome what we're seeing as far as some of these guys' numbers are concerned. My goodness, I genuinely thought we had an opportunity here when I saw the goods shortages, but maybe we'll wait for them to unlock an additional technology, and maybe they'll adopt it, and we'll see the negative 75% on top of the goods shortage, because that would probably also impact their barracks, unless they decide to keep the old production methods at their barracks rather cleverly, I must say. Very clever. Perhaps a tactic I should adopt myself. But for the time being, it is what it is. We'll keep an eye on the war. Their war support is near zero, but they won't get below zero until we actually occupy some territory, whereas their willingness to sign a peace is looking okay. Oh, this... Okay. Now, look, I've been wanting socialism unlocked for quite some time now because it opens up a lot of options, right? But, it increases the minimum expected standard of living from literacy, and that might just be a bit of a problem considering how much we've invested in literacy. So not just over here in the new states, but also our original states and our original conquests. So that might actually hurt us a little bit. We'll keep an eye on it, as this is looking amazing. My goodness, negative 3.14 million, I assume largely because of the increases in standard of living. Again, we are taxing the lower strata of society less. So if I've understood it correctly, which I do believe I have, we should be seeing reduced radicalization because they have a bit more money to spend on their various needs. Let's go ahead and check in once more on our best friends in the home counties over here, over to the railway, over to our laborers, and we should see these guys are all doing, well, hard to say great because they are still struggling, but if it continues at this rate, they might actually accumulate even more wealth and end up at wealth level 10 and beyond, and be beyond the minimum expectations, right? They are paying above average, which is something we'll want to keep an eye on. Maybe we'll reduce the cost of groceries even further or something. But overall, this has gone pretty well. Yes, there are still some people over here who are impoverished, but as we can see, their wealth levels are going higher and higher as well. And if we just take a look at this, we should see from literacy +8, eh? And there you go. Socialism is adding to this by one more step. So just a little bit more work to be done here and there. But overall, I mean, hey, I'm pretty pleased with how things are looking. Hopefully we don't see this number suddenly skyrocket upwards and start causing us some trouble again. As if we take a peek over here, we should see 55% as far as cultural turmoil. This is looking very promising. And at the bottom right corner, more good news. Pan-nationalism has started to spread. That is absolutely excellent because it means we will not need to invest in researching it ourselves, and we can just let time do the job, and then we can go ahead and actually form India because we've got all the states we need. But again, just as a reminder, because I still see it mentioned in the comments from time to time, if we form India before we subjugate Great Britain, we will not get the achievement. Guaranteed. I know for a fact we will not get the achievement if we do it in that order. We have to subjugate Great Britain first. As a new heir has been born, we have named him Dalip Singh. That is interesting. Oh, Yuvraj Dalip Singh. Hey, it's Yuvraj Singh. So this guy is going to eventually be our jingoist landowner heir. How do we end up with the worst people in the line of succession? Because our current king as well, he's not that great. He doesn't really represent our nation. He's bigoted. Despite our best efforts in getting rid of discrimination, somehow Diwan Singh over here managed to be bigoted. And now we have a landowner heir. I mean, of course, he's literally a landowner, but that doesn't mean he has to be a part of the interest group, as down over here, freedom of conscience has actually disbanded as well, so that should be good news for our radicalization count as well. You know, not sure what happened here, but I was so certain that we got all the shipyards chasing after extensive military shipbuildings, but it seems as though we missed one in the West Country, so I've gone ahead and adjusted that. But beyond that as well, what about up over here? Are we all using the right production methods? I could have sworn I made these changes, but maybe I missed the West Country by mistake. Over here, we definitely have the right methods. All right, fair enough. It's, again, not the end of the world, as I like to say, but a bit of a bummer. But the main reason I came over here actually was to build up some of our tooling workshops. Again, tools are constantly needed, even more so when we are actually building buildings. So why don't we go ahead and upgrade these guys to level 30, because again, it'll provide some employment in the region, and the investment pool was making money until we decided to invest using some of that investment pool money. So this should be nice, and they have a lot of money saved up as well, so I'm sure this will work out just perfectly fine as the freedom of conscience political movement has kicked off again. My goodness, pick a lane. Preferably one where you just shut up and sit down. That would be ideal, truth be told. Well, the Confederate States of America's war support has hit 0, which we saw coming from a mile away. We can play the waiting game. Again, our war support won't go below 0 either, because we're not even remotely occupied, so that's all well and good. If we try to push a peace deal, they are still quite resistant. Now, we can keep an eye on this number. It's -90 right now. We'll see if it changes any over time, but I don't think it will. Size of Confederate loans are as large as they can be. Turmoil is at +10. I don't know how much higher that'll actually go in a short order of time. And there isn't too much else we can do apart from, making landfall. We could avoid war reparations. I mean, financially, we're doing just fine, so we don't need those war reparations. I'm hesitant to ignore any of these other pushes that we're making. Again, the Delaware Treaty Port is extremely important to us to secure oil, but from a pure, punishment perspective, I definitely want to ban slavery and liberate New Africa. Now, liberating New Africa is something that I may be less adamant about, so we could swap that out for the Delaware Treaty Port, and we could pull that off, but I'm not going to be so quick to jump to a conclusion to this war. Again, we're making money, we're comfortable, we're fine. If we can just get these guys to suffer additional turmoil maybe, or if we can just make landfall, or just wait until they maybe get a new technology that further hurts their actual capabilities here, we'll be just fine. I mean, my goodness, if they just didn't have those barracks, right, we'd be a-okay. Maybe the landing craft will do the trick, and if not, then we'll see what else we might be able to do to pull off an invasion over here. But our only options as far as strategic regions are concerned are Dixie territory and New England, and we've seen the capability of the general in Dixie territory, so that's not an option. And even in New England, I mean, it's just those handful of barracks that it's enough to flip things in their favor. It's a matter of dice rolls at that point, and it's really unfortunate to see it be a matter of dice rolls, as over here we have yet another engagement that we're actually going to lose over here. So maybe we should swap things around, as they are now resecuring a lot of their goods, though they haven't begun the import of opium again, so that's interesting. None of this stuff actually affects us,
and their war support is already zeroed out, so it's not like furthering the radicalization is going to do too much apart from, I guess, increase their turmoil. Luxury furniture is something they're importing that I could maybe shut down, so fine. Nahal Dylan, let's go ahead and get you raiding convoys up over here, and let's just make sure we have all the pressure we have in the right spots to try and further upset these guys. I mean, turmoil here is, yes, through the roof. 50% plus, 28% up over here, so just hoping that they're going to have some issues and start to crumble maybe from the inside out. Maybe they'll have a revolutionary war kick off that they'll have to deal with, and that'll give us an opening. There's a lot of options. So again, patience is the name of the game right now. Just taking a quick look at market access over here, Awad is definitely suffering, so why don't we go ahead and build these guys up. My goodness, they're suffering a lot. So let's go ahead and invest in the railways here, get them up to level 10. I think that should be enough for the time being, and otherwise we could once more take a look at our overall population and their needs and what's not being met. The lower strata are at 13.6 standard of living on average here, which is a huge difference from where we were just a couple of sessions ago. So that's very exciting. But why don't we go ahead and try to make their lives even better? I suppose reducing the cost of clothes is a good way to go about it, and groceries still. Okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and chase after the groceries in Delhi and try and upgrade our food industries here a little bit further because, oh, you know what? That's actually a bit of a risky play, because it looks as though gold coins are stacking up as far as oil is concerned. So we'll go ahead and chase after the production elsewhere. Let's expand our food industries. Where? Perhaps in North Bengal instead. Again, we're trying to push a change in the overall interest group spread, right? So why don't we go ahead and provide some alternate employment opportunities, get that stacked up to level 20. Hopefully that'll make a significant enough difference. And apart from that, we could also take a look at clothes and, of course, luxury clothes alongside them. If we just pursue the expansion of textile mills, we could probably do that in where? Punjab. Sure, let's get this up to level 40 and see what we can do there. Level 40, I said. Thank you very much. All right, cool. That should be helpful, I think. Again, just bringing the price of some of these essentials down further and further, and hopefully people will be pleased, and we'll continue to see this number have its downward trend. Looking very promising so far. As over here, what do we have? Psychological warfare. There we go, that took a second to load in. But an affair between Ranjit Kunwar and Ganda Singh Dogra's spouse has reached our ears, threatening to affect his public image if we don't destitute the general. I just fell on her, I swear. Oh my, coming in with a bayonet charge, eh? We still need a general, and these are personal matters. Or we cannot trust a man like this. Ranjit Kunwar, eh? Ranjit Kunwar, what have you done for us? He is a member of the armed forces. He's an expert defensive strategist and an expert offensive strategist, if you catch my meaning. And he's a woodland combat expert. Oh yeah, you bet he is. He's also a supply record. I mean, all of these could be made into terrible jokes, so I'm going to stop there. Do we still need him, or can we not trust a man like this? If we get rid of him, Ganda Singh Dogra gets the trait syphilis, my goodness, which is actually a problem, right? It does actually hurt character health, but it does make the landowners a bit happier. Now, the landowners I don't care so much for, but I don't want them to activate noble privileges, so this isn't a terrible option. On the other hand, we still need a general, and these are personal matters. Do I care? I love how Ganda Singh Dogra, of course, gets syphilis either way, but there's a chance that he becomes an alcoholic as well if we go with this. My goodness, this is actually a very fun event. I wish there were more like this. No, we simply cannot trust a man like this. That's really quite unfortunate. Ranjit Kunwar, how could you? How could you, Ranjit Kunwar of the Persia HQ? All right, it's time to get rid of him. It's too bad. He was decent, but maybe there are better people out there, right? We haven't used him in a very long time. We cannot trust a man like this. That's a shame, and he's going to, yes, kill himself. That's just how the game, deals with retired government officials, I've learned, but it is funny as hell just to read generals offing themselves every time they're asked to step down because of things like sleeping around. That's really funny. Looks as though the United States of America have begun conscripting. Unfortunately, this isn't going to involve us or the Confederate States in any way, so can't really celebrate this. There's no real point in being even remotely excited, even though I wouldn't mind supporting the Indian territories here. Because we're all about the Indian territories, am I right? But jokes aside, no, we can't dive into that. What do we have here? Some concerns being raised with regards to how we're favoring the industrialists. It's so funny because I'm sure the industrialists would feel the exact opposite. They need to accept that we cannot always please everyone, or this needs to be addressed. Again, the industrialists are as upset as I would like them to be. In fact, I would like them to be loyal, whereas the landowners, they're not going to activate noble privileges with just one further step down in their approval, so sure, they just need to accept that we cannot always please everyone. Folks, landing craft have been unlocked, and I think we're going to try now to push our luck once more. We'll go ahead and get Nahal Dillon over here kicking off a naval invasion. Let's chase after Massachusetts, and something's happened to their fleet count there, their flotilla count, so that's promising, maybe. Dalip Singh, let's head on over, and let's just take a peek over here and see if any adjustments have been made to their production methods. No, they are still suffering from 50% penalties, so that's good at least, but not much more beyond that, and their barracks, of course, are still going to cause us some issue. My goodness, that is a huge number. We'll see what we can do. Maybe it's just a matter of beating our head against the wall over and over again until the dice gods decide to give us a gift. But we'll try it a couple times, and if we have no luck, then we might just end this war, because I don't think we're going to see their peace acceptance change any further. It's been at plus 100 from the Confederate loans for a very long time, which I'm pretty sure is the cap, and I wasn't 100% sure about the cap from turmoil, but it seems to be plus 10, so I don't think we'll be able to push everything unless we're actually able to make landfall, so we'll try, and failing that, yes, we'll go ahead and make some adjustments. I don't know exactly what I want to keep and let go of as far as the peace deal is concerned, but that's a conversation for a little bit later, as the conversation for now is what to tech up to next. I mean, again, now might be the time to chase after military aviation. It'll take 4 years to research, and it'll allow us to have access to aerial recon, increasing offense and defense. And offense in particular is quite helpful because it's, you know, what we need to accumulate to counter some of these massive defensive stacks that we're seeing, and that's always the case. Stormtroopers, again, infiltrators are valuable in that way as well, but they would replace the machine gunners, and the machine gunners are purely defense focused, but they have all these other additional benefits that they do provide, right? So I don't know if I want to do that. And of course, with NCO training, we get squad infantry, but these guys simply replace our trench infantry. So again, it's not using up an empty slot as we described it previously, right? So I suppose military aviation isn't a terrible idea. The other option is, of course, to chase after something like rubber mastication, which will be done in about 4 to 7 weeks, or perhaps a vulcanization, which will take 15 weeks or 15 months, sorry, beyond that, just to get bicycle messengers and that plus 5 offense from another, again, empty slot. That is an option, but I think, you know what, if we're going to invest that kind of time for just a plus 5 and the need to acquire, you know, additional goods like rubber, why don't we go ahead and invest just a little bit more time and chase after military aviation right off the bat over here. Let's go for it. Get some planes in the air. I mean, that's just cool to me. I've always been a huge fan of like dogfighting and stuff like that. And so I've been tempted to pursue that for a very long time. So sure, let's go for it, as it looks as though our radical count over here might actually drop below the 20 million threshold, which is, oh, of course, as I say that, it decides to pump up a little bit. But look, the trend has been great. We're seeing a reduction in radical count, and I imagine as a result of that as well, we're going to see, yes, a further reduction in English cultural turmoil. This is all working out wonderfully. And if we just turn our eyes to, again, our buddies over here at the home counties working at the railway as laborers, we should hopefully see they are all, yeah, looking pretty good. These guys are still struggling. Hopefully we'll see this number climb up, and we'll pay attention to some of their needs as this current slew of construction gets completed. More groceries, more opium. I don't know if I want to provide that. Don't need any addictions kicking off, obviously. Maybe the price of electricity could be brought down a little bit, which is actually quite expensive, so maybe that is something I should consider. And then we'll consider maybe the textile mills adopting, you know, electric sewing machines and stuff like that. We'll see. But for the time being, pretty pleased with how this is playing out. Let's keep an eye on how this plays out. Obviously, in about a month's time, we should see another battle kick off, and hopefully we'll see victory. And again, I'm really hoping that the new technology gives us what we need to come out on top over here. So in about 2 days' time, we'll see a naval battle kick off. I'm sure there'll be an interception. And where is it? There it is. Yep, beautiful stuff. We should come out on top over here, no issues. And then it's just a matter of trying again and again. And hopefully, yeah, coming out on top against the Confederate States of America. As our victory there, and the battle up over here is looking, oh, very much not in our favor. That is really unfortunate as this peace treaty kicks off. I don't think that has anything to do with us, fair enough. But no, this is unfortunate. 79 from our army offense, no benefits from Dalip Singh himself. That defense, though, my goodness. Did I, hang on a second. Wrathful and experienced defensive strategist. Am I not in the right strategic region? I can't remember. No, I'm in New England. Maybe I should try down south over here instead and see if there's been a change of who's in charge
and what general is there, and if we're able to actually cause any damage, because we are losing a lot of troops. Every time we do this, a lot of people are dying, a lot of people are ending up wounded. And again, all it is just these 6 regular troops. If we can just get these guys to die out, to reduce in number, we'll be okay. But that's easier said than done. Much easier said than done. We'll stick to New England as far as the strategic region we'll be attacking, because the access to barracks is a lot lower up over here, and that's all we really need is for them to use more of their conscripts than their regular troops. Ideally, only use their conscripts as opposed to their regular troops as well, right? Because that'll reduce their army defense, and it'll give us the upper hand. But hey, at least we're not suffering from that penalty anymore, right? Now, why are our conscripts using this illustration? Are you still using... No, they're using siege artillery. Okay, fair enough. It's just to, I guess, mark them as separately, as conscripts. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. All right. All good. All good. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Here we go. Once more to Massachusetts with Dalip Singh. We'll see if it plays out nicely. And of course, I am also considering our options with regards to war with Great Britain, right? That time is right around the corner. And do I really want to be distracted by the CSA when I could be getting my actual task done, as the destroyer is now unlocked, which, again, I don't think we'll activate for our naval bases. We do not need to invest in these guys. We already rule the waves. There's no need, I think, to further advance our power at sea. Meanwhile, as construction starts to get completed, why don't we go ahead and take a look at, again, market access. Things are looking pretty good. So over in North Bengal, I suppose we could pursue additional textile mills. Let's get these guys up to level 20. And again, just further reduce the cost of clothes, right? It's a very popular product, and that should be quite good and helpful. While we could also consider some of the other needs as far as our population is concerned and what they're paying too much for. Again, clothes remains up there, which is why I'm prioritizing it. Groceries is up there as well. And again, it's just why I really want to pursue the oil rigs in the CSA territory. We could take a look at tea as well, though it's not that much of an expense as far as quantity is concerned. Separately, we could also take a look at some of our other strata of society and what they need, right? Luxury furniture, luxury clothes, porcelain. Sure, all right, fair enough. And tea too. Now, Maori migration is quite exciting. I'm a huge fan of Maori culture. My thesis actually in university was born from my love and interest of Maori culture, so that's very exciting on a personal level. As over here, rubber mastication has been unlocked as well. Good stuff. And vulcanization, what do you know, has started to spread. Fair enough. We might actually get those bicycle messengers in about 9 to 12 months time before we have access to airplanes, and I will take advantage of them. If they're coming freely, yes, I will absolutely take advantage of them, as we should also continue to take advantage of, yes, of course, our investment pool over here, and build up some of those furniture manufactories, right? I suppose in Punjab, we could go ahead and push these guys up to level 60 and see if that helps a little bit, brings the price of luxury furniture down, while we should also consider maybe importing more hardwood from the Austrian market. Sure, they're going to provide a fair bit of it, and while we could build that industry up locally as well, why don't we start importing some of these lower tier products, I suppose, as up over here our economy is looking fantastic. Again, we could lower taxes if we want to, but I don't want to. We're going to keep it just where it is. It's perfectly fine. Separately, we are now finally below the 20 million radical count, which is nice to see, and we'll just see how much this stops dropping, right? Because of course the political movements are starting to accumulate more and more support, and separately from that as well, we have already helped so many people's standard of living. That huge spike is probably behind us now, and it'll probably be a while before we see additional huge spikes, right? Like again, if we visit our old friends over here, I imagine we've seen the slowdown of their improved quality of life, though a lot more people are working here now. I imagine we're not going to see huge bumps anytime too soon, though if we do pursue furniture as we're doing right now, or clothes as we're doing right now, maybe we can accelerate the rate of their improved lives, right? Oh man, this attempt has failed as well, though this time their defense was a little bit lower. Camouflage is what really helped them out there. All right, okay. Yeah, we'll try again and again. Because again, this time they had, I think, a few more regular troops, but despite that, their offense wasn't that, or sorry, not their offense, but their defense wasn't that great. Defaulting on loans, is that number going higher or lower? I believe it's gone up from the last time I checked, but all right, let's try once more. Dalip Singh, or rather I should say Nahal Dillon, naval invasion up in Massachusetts. Let's go. And separately, of course, our truce with Great Britain has come to an end. So if we wanted to, folks, we would be able to now push in and subjugate Great Britain, though of course we cannot do that when we have an ongoing war. So the question remains, do I want to rush the end of this war? Do I just simply want to accept less than everything I wanted? Maybe we don't push for the liberation of New Africa or the war reparations. Again, we don't need the extra money, so I'm fine without the extra money. Maybe we just ban slavery and take that treaty port to gain access to oil. Or yes, do we want to ban slavery and liberate New Africa, leaving that oil on the table? Because let's be real, these guys are probably going to keep us embargoed for a very, very long time, right? How much of a rush am I in to actually acquire oil? And can I get oil from elsewhere? Let's take a look at import trade routes over here. Where is my oil? Oh, wow, it's grayed out. So there's definitely no options to actually acquire additional oil from anywhere. Why? Scandinavia has an embargo against us. The French have an embargo against us. The Confederate market, of course, have an embargo against us as well. No one is interested. Okay, very well. Very well. It is what it is. The price of oil is a little concerning, obviously, as I pointed out before. So we're not going to be able to add our use of it. I just want to see, like, yeah, see, these guys are just not tapping into their massive reserves, and it's such a bummer to see that. And I'm not going to go to war with these guys just to secure some territory where we can develop oil, right? And in some cases, that's not even an option, so I'm not going to do that. I do wonder about the CSA and what war goals I should prioritize, because at the end of the day, we're going to need oil for the aerial recon that I want. We're going to need oil for our pops as well. Like, they want oil to heat their homes and all that good stuff, potentially reducing the cost of electricity. I'm not going to sacrifice the banning of slavery. That is my #1 war goal. That one stays, because that is the biggest way we can spit on their faces. Liberating New Africa was sort of salt on the wound, right? Like, this is the massive gash I want to cut, and then this is applying salt to the wound. War reparations, again, I can easily sacrifice that, because we're making a ton of money. As long as the investment pool has some money, we're in massive positives, and even when they don't have any money, we're perfectly fine, right? We're perfectly okay as far as cash flow is concerned. It's that treaty port that is my variable. And what do I swap out? Like, do I swap the treaty port in versus the liberation of New Africa? Decisions. I'm just not sure. Do I keep trying to apply pressure as well? Do I wait and hope that we make landfall and actually succeed? Is that a fool's errand? Am I just going to waste time? Because ideally, I'd like to kick off our diplomatic play on the 15th of August of this year, but I just don't know. Oh, you know what? Seeing this really helps make up my mind a little bit. Folks, I think we need to keep trying here. I think we need to keep trying. Like, look at that. We were so close. It's just these 3 battalions that got in our way. Ironically, 3 Yankee battalions. That's really funny. But it's just these 3 battalions that got in our way of success here. I'm pretty sure if we didn't have to go toe-to-toe with them, we'd actually come out on top. What's hurting our offense here? Nothing. Nothing's hurting us, because we don't even have the landing penalty, right? I just wonder what I should do to overcome this trouble. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, because it just seems as though we might just be able to, with a couple more attacks here, come out on top and bring an end to Confederate tyranny in North America, and also gain access, yes, to their oil, their massive oil fields. But you know what, folks? I think we're going to go ahead and call it a session, because no matter which decision I make, either way, I'm pretty sure that within the next handful of months, we're going to see the kickoff of a fresh war with Great Britain, and the subjugation of, yes, our would-be conquerors from another era and from an alternate timeline. Very excited to see the next session, which I think might actually be the penultimate session. I'm not sure. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below with regards to our war with the Confederate States of America. At the end of the day, of course, I'll have to make a call based on the actual viability of the suggestions, but I always love when folks weigh in, and I love weighing in people's opinions and stuff in the comments. So I'm going to end things on like a semi cliffhanger, I suppose. We know we've won the war, but to what extent and in what way remains up in the air. And as soon as this war is done, we're going to push to subjugate Great Britain, because we can now. So maybe August 15th, 1910 is when we make that push, and just enjoy the poetry of our timing, and the celebration of a new decade, I suppose. Nonetheless, folks, this is, as I said, where we're calling it. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. And as always, of course, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time.
Cheers.